the thing that you really see in Mao that really stands out in relation to China's leaders since the 80s is that he thought the party could not reform itself. The party could not police itself. That you had to open up the political system. Let ordinary people speak their mind. The other thing that is really different about China since Mao is that cadres lead a much more secure life than they did under Mao. Even despite the anti-corruption campaign, cadres and their families, officials and their families, basically were liberated by the overthrow of the Gang of Four. And they're not monitored and policed and purged constantly the way that they were during Mao's lives. So they have the security to travel abroad, to have their family members engage in business, and they don't have to worry about being accused of an imaginary crime, an imaginary political error. They now have to worry about the anti-corruption campaign. So all of these things together, I think, are really quite, make the Mao era really fundamentally quite different from the current era, even though Xi Jinping kind of draws on some of the imagery of Mao.
Xi Jinping is using the party machine. That's very powerful. We see it spreading fear among high and low. And I think that the second thing is that Xi does not want to go down in history as the man under whom the Chinese regime collapsed. And what he took from the Soviet example is that he sees the rot starting with Khrushchev's denunciation of Stalin. And that is why he is saying to the Chinese, there are not two periods in Chinese history recently. A bad period, Mao, a good period, reform. It's all one big historical period. They cannot afford to get rid of Mao. And so he is reshaping the historical vision of his party, but at the same time, he's vowing to bring down tigers, the bigwigs, and he's already brought down a few, and flies, the small people. And this is very dangerous. What is he trying to do? He's doing, in effect, a cultural revolution.
Deng Xiaoping wrote this brilliant essay critiquing the over-concentration of authority in the Mao system, and then recommending retirement ages, regular meeting of collective institutions, age limits, etc., so that you would not have a dictatorial rule where nobody dared question it and it could be there forever. And yet Xi Jinping really, we haven't heard much about that essay, have we? Because basically Xi is trying to live the antithesis of what Deng Xiaoping recommended.